Ladies and gentlemen, there is something magical about waking up every morning and deciding you will learn something new today. Not because a teacher told you to, not because a degree demands it, but because your mind deserves to grow. Your future deserves that gift. Life changes quietly, slowly, but powerfully when you choose to educate yourself every day. Learning is a daily decision, not a one-time achievement. We grow up thinking that learning happens only in school, college, or in some special course. But learning is not a destination. It is not a trophy you win and place on a shelf. Learning is a decision you make. Every single day, it is quiet, but it is powerful. It shapes the way you think, speak, and live. It defines the difference between staying the same and becoming better. When you wake up in the morning, you can choose what kind of day you will live. And one of the strongest decisions you can make is to educate yourself. It does not matter if it is a big thing or a small one. Maybe you read an article that teaches you a new perspective. Maybe you listen to a podcast that shifts the way you look at the world. Or maybe you just sit down with yourself and reflect on your own mistakes with honesty. That too is education. The world is full of distractions. Most people are busy scrolling, comparing, complaining. And that is why they do not grow, because real growth asks for intention. You do not learn just by existing. You learn by choosing, by deciding, today I will grow, I will open my eyes, I will think, I will question. I will listen, I will reflect. Every day gives you a chance to be wiser than you were yesterday. You do not need to make huge changes. You do not need to impress anyone. You just need to take one small step in the right direction. Learning how to control your emotions is education. Understanding someone else's pain is education. Reading a few lines of a book that touches your heart is education. Watching your own habits and fixing what is broken inside you, that is education too. And the best thing is, you never run out of chances. Every sunrise brings a new opportunity. Life does not ask for perfection. It only asks that you try. That you care enough about yourself to invest in your mind. The most powerful people in the world are not the loudest. They are the ones who know how to think, and that skill comes from learning. You do not have to go far. You can learn from your parents, from your child, from a stranger, from a failure. The decision to learn is what changes everything. Because when you start learning, you start changing. You become more patient, more confident, more self-aware. You stop reacting, you start responding, you stop copying, you start creating. That is what daily education does. It transforms you from the inside. There will be days when it feels boring, days when it feels pointless. That is okay. But remind yourself, this is a journey. You are not trying to be the smartest person. You are trying to be the best version of yourself, and that requires showing up every day, even when no one is clapping, even when no one notices, because at the end of the day, your future will thank you for every minute you spent learning. Your peace of mind, your relationships, your career, everything will become better, all because you made a simple decision to educate yourself. Not once, but every single day. True education starts when ego ends. Education is often seen as something that happens in the classroom, with tests and exams determining who knows the most. But true education doesn't come from simply memorizing facts or winning debates. It comes when we acknowledge that we don't know it all. That is the moment true learning begins. It's the moment we set our egos aside, open our minds, and realize that there is always more to learn. Our egos, which often tell us that we know enough or that we are already successful, can become a barrier to real growth. We think we have reached the peak, but in reality, the path has only just begun. Ego tells us to stop questioning, to stop listening, to stop exploring. It convinces us that we are experts, that we have arrived. The truth, however, is that we never truly arrive. There is always more to discover, more to understand, and more to explore in this vast, ever-changing world. It is human nature to seek validation, to want to be seen as knowledgeable or accomplished, but the more we cling to this desire for approval, the less open we become to new ideas. We become rigid in our thinking, unwilling to change our perspectives, and closed off to learning. This is where true education is stifled. It is only when we set aside the need for validation and open ourselves to the possibility that we don't know everything that we can begin to truly learn. The process of learning requires humility. It requires us to admit that we don't have all the answers. This is not a weakness, but a strength. When we let go of our egos, we allow ourselves to become students of life again. We allow ourselves to ask questions, seek knowledge, and learn from others. We allow ourselves to be vulnerable and open to the idea that we can grow, that we can evolve, and that we are not defined by what we know today. Ego often keeps us in our comfort zones. We stick to what we know, avoiding unfamiliar ideas or experiences because they challenge our sense of self. But growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens when we push past the boundaries that our ego has set for us. When we step into the unknown, when we embrace uncertainty, we open the door to learning. And with every new piece of knowledge we gain, we expand our understanding of the world around us. One of the most powerful ways to learn is by listening. Listening not just to respond, but to truly understand. Ego often interferes with our ability to listen. We become so focused on proving our point or defending our position that we forget to hear what others are saying. But when we listen without judgment, without the need to impress or to be right, we create space for new ideas to enter. We become open to perspectives that we may not have considered before. True education requires us to embrace vulnerability. It asks us to acknowledge that we are not perfect, that we have flaws, and that we have areas where we can improve. And that is okay. There is no shame in admitting that we don't have all the answers. In fact, it is through this admission that we find the strength to grow. When we let go of our egos, we also let go of the fear of failure. Many of us are afraid to make mistakes because we think it will make us look weak or incompetent. But in reality, failure is one of the greatest teachers. It is through our mistakes that we learn the most. When we stop worrying about being perfect and start embracing our failures as opportunities for growth, we unlock a powerful source of learning. Education, therefore, is not about knowing everything. It is about being open to the journey of discovery. It is about shedding the layers of ego that hold us back and stepping into the world with a mindset of curiosity and humility. It is about being willing to learn from everyone and everything around us, recognizing that the lessons never stop. The moment we release our egos, we step into a world where the possibilities for learning are endless. The world becomes a classroom, and every experience, every conversation, every failure becomes an opportunity for growth. And this, ultimately, is where true education begins. Growth comes from observation, not just instruction. We live in a world that places heavy emphasis on formal education. We often believe that knowledge comes solely from textbooks, lectures, or degrees. While these can certainly help us, they are not the only sources of growth. True growth, the kind that deeply transforms us, often begins from something far more subtle: observation. It comes from paying attention to what's happening around us, noticing the details, and learning from life itself. We have all been given the gift of sight, yet many of us fail to truly see. We walk through life on autopilot, going through our routines without ever really looking at the world or understanding the lessons it offers. Observation is not just about seeing with our eyes. It's about understanding with our minds and feeling with our hearts. It's about noticing the patterns in our lives, the reactions of others, the way the world works, and how our choices impact those around us. Observation teaches us things that instruction cannot. Instruction may tell you the theory, but observation lets you see how the theory plays out in real life. A teacher can tell you how to be a good leader, but only by watching the leaders around you can you truly learn the subtle art of leadership. A book can teach you about love, but only by experiencing it, by watching how people treat each other, can you truly understand what it means to love deeply. There is so much happening around us every day, but we often miss it because we are too focused on the next task, the next goal, or the next achievement. We are so consumed with moving forward that we forget to stop and look around. But when we do take a moment to observe, we begin to see things we never noticed before. We see the small acts of kindness that go unnoticed, the quiet moments of beauty that fill our world, and the lessons that every person, every experience, and every failure holds. Observation is about more than just looking at what's in front of us. It's about being present in the moment, allowing ourselves to truly experience what's happening. It's about being curious and asking questions. Why did this person act that way? What can I learn from their actions? What can I learn from my own actions? The answers are often hidden in plain sight, but they only reveal themselves when we make the effort to observe carefully and thoughtfully. In every experience, there is a lesson. Whether you're working on a project, dealing with a challenge, or interacting with others, there are opportunities to learn from what you observe. When we learn to pay attention, we begin to notice the subtleties, the body language, the tone of voice, the choices people make, and the patterns that emerge. These are the things that truly teach us. They show us how to navigate life more effectively, how to connect with others on a deeper level, and how to make better decisions. Sometimes growth also comes from observing our own lives. We get so caught up in the busyness of life that we forget to reflect on our own actions, decisions, and behaviors. But when we take the time to observe ourselves, our reactions, our habits, our thought processes, we can uncover insights that can lead to personal transformation. When we see ourselves clearly, without the distortions of ego or fear, we can begin to understand what holds us back and what drives us forward. Observation also opens the door to empathy. When we take the time to observe others, to really understand where they are coming from, we develop a deeper connection to them. We learn to see the world through their eyes, and in doing so, we become more compassionate, more understanding, and more patient. This empathy allows us to build stronger relationships, make better decisions, and contribute to the well-being of others. The beauty of observation is that it does not require any special skills or tools. It requires only our presence, our awareness, and our willingness to engage with the world. It costs nothing, yet it provides the most valuable lessons. By making observation a part of our daily practice, we can create a life that is richer, more insightful, and more connected to the world around us. While instruction can guide us, it is observation that allows us to truly grow. It is through the act of watching, listening, and learning from everything around us that we begin to expand our understanding and deepen our wisdom. When we observe the world with intention and an open mind, we unlock a wealth of knowledge that is always available to us, waiting to be discovered. Everyone and everything can be your teacher. We often limit our learning to the traditional sources, teachers, books, or experts in a particular field. But the truth is, learning is all around us, and it is available in every experience, every person, and every moment. We just have to open our minds and hearts to the lessons that come from unexpected places. Every person you meet, every situation you encounter, holds a lesson for you. Whether that lesson is big or small, it can shape your perspective and add to your growth. The people around us are the first teachers we encounter. Each person brings their own unique set of experiences, wisdom, and perspectives to the table. You can learn something from everyone, regardless of their background, age, or position. From the most experienced professional to a child, everyone has something to teach you. Sometimes it's the lessons we learn from those we least expect that have the most profound impact on our lives. A child can teach you the importance of curiosity and the beauty of seeing the world without prejudice. Children look at the world with wide-eyed wonder, asking endless questions, exploring everything with a sense of innocence and joy. In their simplicity, they remind us that learning does not have to be serious or complicated. It can be fun, playful, and driven by an unrelenting sense of curiosity. Similarly, even in difficult or challenging situations, there are valuable lessons to be learned. Life has a way of teaching us through hardship and failure. We often resist difficult moments, but they are some of the best teachers. Pain, struggle, and disappointment push us to grow, to reassess our values, and to find strength we didn't know we had. It is in the hardest times that we often learn the most about ourselves and the world around us. Every experience you have teaches you something. The work you do, the conversations you have, the problems you solve, they all contribute to your growth. You do not have to wait for a formal lesson to learn something new. Life itself is a classroom, and every moment is an opportunity to learn. The mundane tasks, the routine interactions, even the moments of silence, are full of lessons if you pay attention. Nature, too, can be a profound teacher. The way the sun rises and sets, the cycles of the seasons, the resilience of plants and animals, all of these carry lessons. Nature teaches us patience, endurance, and the importance of balance. We can learn from how ecosystems work together to create harmony, how storms give way to calm, and how things grow and evolve over time. The key to learning from everyone and everything is to approach life with humility and openness. If we believe we already know everything, we shut ourselves off from new ideas, new perspectives, and new experiences. But when we stay humble and open, we create space for growth. We become receptive to learning from even the most unlikely sources. This openness allows us to see things in new ways. It helps us connect with others on a deeper level because we can appreciate the lessons they bring. It also helps us see the interconnectedness of life, that everything and everyone is a part of the larger whole, and that each piece plays a role in our growth. The more we embrace the idea that everyone and everything can be our teacher, the more we learn to see the world with a sense of wonder and curiosity. We start to understand that there is no end to learning, there is no final destination, the journey itself is the lesson. And as long as we keep our minds open and our hearts receptive, we will never stop growing. In every encounter, in every interaction, there is a chance to learn. Even if the lesson is not immediately obvious, if you remain open and observant, you will eventually see it. It might be a lesson in patience, understanding, resilience, or humility. It might be a lesson in kindness, communication, or perseverance. Whatever it is worth learning. By recognizing that everyone and everything can teach us, we begin to appreciate the richness of life itself. We stop seeing people as obstacles or competitors and start seeing them as partners in the learning process. We stop rushing through life and start savoring each moment, knowing that every experience holds a lesson waiting to be discovered. Reflecting is as important as reading. In a world that values productivity and constant motion, we often forget one of the most essential parts of learning and growth, reflection. We live in a time when information is always available at our fingertips, and reading has become one of the easiest ways to gain knowledge. We read books, articles, blogs, and endless online content. We consume information so quickly that we often don't give ourselves the time to pause and reflect on what we have absorbed. But the truth is, reading without reflection is like filling a glass with water without ever drinking it. It is not enough to simply take in knowledge. We must take the time to process it, to think about it and to internalize it. Reflection is the bridge between learning and understanding. Without reflection, knowledge remains surface level, and we fail to truly grasp its meaning. Think about a time when you read something that made an impact on you. Did the words stick with you immediately, or did it take some time for the lesson to settle in? The learning process is not complete until you reflect on what you have learned. Reflection allows us to connect new ideas with our existing knowledge and experiences. It helps us see patterns, draw conclusions, and form deeper insights that can be applied in our lives. When we read, we expose ourselves to new ideas, perspectives, and information. But this information becomes truly valuable only when we take the time to reflect on how it fits into our own lives, how it aligns with our values, and how it challenges our assumptions. Reflection helps us understand why something matters and how it can be useful. It helps us go beyond the facts and figures to understand the deeper meaning behind them. Reflection is also a key part of personal growth. We often look to external sources, books, experts, mentors, to learn and grow. But true growth comes from within. It comes when we take the time to look at ourselves, our actions, our thoughts, and our behaviors. Reflection gives us the space to evaluate our own progress, recognize our strengths, and identify areas for improvement. Without this process of self-reflection, we may continue to make the same mistakes, repeat old patterns, and miss opportunities for growth. Many people shy away from reflection because it requires us to be honest with ourselves. It requires us to confront uncomfortable truths, to admit that we don't always have all the answers, and to recognize where we have failed. But this is the beauty of reflection. It forces us to be accountable. It helps us learn from our mistakes and use those lessons to move forward. Without reflection, we can easily fall into the trap of complacency, thinking that we know everything or that we have reached our full potential. Reflection prevents this by reminding us that there is always more to learn, more to understand, and more to improve. Another important aspect of reflection is that it allows us to integrate our learning into our lives. It's one thing to read a book or watch a video, but it's another thing entirely to take that information and apply it in a meaningful way. Reflection helps us connect the dots between what we've learned and how we can use it in our personal and professional lives. It gives us the opportunity to think about what actions we need to take, what habits we need to change, and what new perspectives we need to adopt in order to grow. Reflection also allows us to appreciate the learning process itself. In our fast-paced world, we are often so focused on the end result that we forget to enjoy the journey. Reflection helps us slow down, take a step back, and appreciate the lessons we are learning along the way. It reminds us that growth is not a destination, but a continuous process. Every moment of reflection is an opportunity to deepen our understanding and enhance our ability to make wise choices. Moreover, reflection can be a tool for creativity. When we reflect on what we have read, experienced, or observed, we give our minds the space to make new connections and generate new ideas. Sometimes the best ideas come not when we are actively trying to solve a problem, but when we give ourselves the time to step back and reflect on it from different angles. In this way, reflection becomes a catalyst for innovation and creative thinking. In essence, reading gives us the raw material, ideas, concepts, stories, and facts, but reflection is what allows us to shape that material into something meaningful. It is through reflection that we transform knowledge into wisdom. By taking the time to reflect, we ensure that we are not just filling our minds with information, but that we are truly learning, growing, and evolving. Self-education fuels self-worth. In a world that constantly pushes us to seek validation from external sources, whether from others, society, or external achievements. The most important form of validation often comes from within. Self-worth is not something that can be handed to us or proven through the accolades or recognition of others. It is built by the work we put into ourselves, the effort we make to improve, and the continuous investment in our own education. The more we educate ourselves, the stronger our sense of self-worth becomes, because we are taking control of our growth, our future, and our potential. Self-education is the foundation of personal empowerment. When you decide to take responsibility for your learning, you stop relying on others to tell you what you can or cannot achieve. You stop waiting for permission or external approval. Instead, you start becoming the authority on your own life, on your own skills, and on your own potential. This shift in mindset is what gives you the confidence to act, to take risks, and to move forward even when the path is uncertain. The process of self-education allows you to understand your true value. When you invest in learning, whether it's through reading, skill building, or self-reflection, you begin to see the many layers of potential you have within you. With each new thing you learn, you open doors to opportunities, discover talents you didn't know existed, and uncover strengths that were previously hidden. This, in turn, increases your belief in yourself. The more knowledge you acquire, the more capable you feel. The more skills you develop, the more you trust your abilities to navigate challenges and overcome obstacles. Self-education also nurtures resilience. Life often presents us with setbacks, challenges, and failures. But the beauty of self-education is that it teaches us how to adapt, how to stay curious in the face of adversity, and how to turn obstacles into stepping stones. With every lesson learned, you build a toolkit of strategies and insights that help you tackle future challenges with greater confidence. You begin to trust yourself more deeply, knowing that no matter what comes your way, you have the ability to learn and grow through it. This sense of resilience is a cornerstone of self-worth because it's a reminder that you are not defined by your failures, but by your ability to learn from them and continue moving forward. In addition, self-education brings clarity. As you learn more about the world, about different perspectives, and about your own interests and passions, you gain a clearer sense of direction. When you understand more about what you want to do, who you want to become, and the skills you need to get there, your sense of purpose becomes stronger. This clarity feeds into your self-worth because it gives you a roadmap to follow. You no longer feel lost or uncertain about your next steps. Instead, you are guided by the knowledge and wisdom you have acquired through your commitment to learning. Self-education also brings freedom. The more you know, the more choices you have. With the right education, you can create new opportunities for yourself, explore different career paths, or even change the course of your life entirely. Education is the key that unlocks doors to freedom to choose, freedom to create, and freedom to express yourself authentically. This sense of freedom is incredibly empowering and reinforces your worth. When you realize that you are not limited by your circumstances, but instead have the power to learn and grow, you begin to see yourself as capable, valuable, and limitless. The beauty of self-education is that it is a lifelong journey. No one can take this power away from you. You are in control of your learning, your growth, and your evolution. With each new thing you learn, you build your own foundation of knowledge, resilience, and clarity. And with every piece of knowledge you gain, your sense of self-worth grows stronger. You no longer rely on external sources of validation because you recognize that the most important source of validation comes from yourself. This process of learning, evolving, and growing ultimately leads to a deep sense of self-respect. When you invest in yourself, when you take the time to grow, to learn, and to better yourself, you send a message to yourself that you matter, that your growth matters, and that you are worthy of success, fulfillment, and happiness. This internal sense of worth becomes the most solid foundation you can build your life upon because it cannot be taken away by external factors. It is a steady, unshakable force that drives you forward, no matter the circumstances. Ultimately, self-education is the most empowering way to invest in yourself. It fuels your sense of worth because it is an ongoing commitment to your personal growth, to your potential, and to your future. It teaches you that you are enough, just as you are, but you are also capable of becoming even more by continually investing in the power of learning. Self-education is not about being the smartest person in the room. It is about being the most committed to learning, growing, and improving yourself. It is about knowing that you are capable of constant transformation. As we embark on our journeys of self-education, the true power lies not in accumulating knowledge for the sake of knowledge, but in using that knowledge to become the best version of ourselves. The journey of learning is one of continuous self-discovery, where every new piece of information enriches our understanding of the world and our place in it. One of the most powerful aspects of self-education is that it allows you to continuously evolve. With each new skill learned, each book read, and each experience had, you grow. You become more equipped to navigate challenges, to solve problems, and to approach life with a broader perspective. The more you educate yourself, the more you realize that learning is not a destination, but a continuous, lifelong process. You will never stop learning. There is always something new to discover, always something that can enhance the way you think, the way you live, and the way you approach your work. This realization is liberating because it means that you are never stagnant. You are always moving forward, always becoming more of who you are meant to be. Self-education also gives you control over your own development. Unlike formal education, where curricula and schedules are predefined for you, self-education allows you to tailor your learning according to your interests, your needs, and your goals. It is a deeply personal journey where you decide what is important to learn, what skills to develop, and what knowledge to acquire. You are the driver of your own growth, and this control is empowering. You no longer have to wait for someone else to tell you what you should know or when you should learn it. Instead, you can chart your own course, picking the areas that resonate with you, challenge you, and inspire you. This autonomy helps you build confidence in your ability to make decisions, to trust your instincts, and to take ownership of your learning process. Moreover, self-education fosters creativity. When you take the time to explore new ideas, dive into new fields, or try your hand at something completely different, you open up space for creative thinking. Learning across various disciplines, perspectives, and experiences gives your mind new tools to think differently. You begin to see connections between things you may not have noticed before. This cross-pollination of ideas leads to innovative thinking and creative solutions to problems. You stop seeing the world in black and white terms and start understanding that there are multiple ways to view a situation, multiple ways to solve a problem. This creative approach to thinking is essential in all aspects of life, whether you are facing a professional challenge, personal difficulty, or trying to navigate your future. It allows you to approach problems not as roadblocks, but as opportunities for growth and innovation. Another key benefit of self-education is the development of self-discipline. Learning independently requires a level of discipline that is often absent in traditional educational settings. When you are responsible for your own learning, you must set goals, manage your time, and stay committed to the process even when things get tough. This discipline, when practiced regularly, becomes a habit. It spreads into other areas of your life, helping you stay focused, organized, and motivated, even in the face of distractions. The ability to consistently follow through on your self-education journey translates into a deeper sense of personal responsibility. You take ownership not only of your learning, but also of your actions, behaviors, and decisions. Self-education also has a profound impact on your mindset. As you learn and grow, you develop a mindset of abundance instead of scarcity. You begin to see that there is always more to learn, always more to achieve, and always more to experience. This mindset shift is critical for overcoming fear, self-doubt, and hesitation. It allows you to approach challenges with confidence and curiosity, knowing that you have the ability to adapt, learn, and grow. It also teaches you that failure is not the end, but rather a part of the process. Every setback becomes a lesson in resilience, persistence, and self-improvement. As your knowledge grows, you also become more aware of the vast potential within you. The more you learn, the more you understand that the only limits that exist are the ones you place on yourself. The belief that you cannot change, that you cannot improve, starts to dissolve as you witness your own growth. Your sense of possibility expands, and you begin to see yourself in new ways, as someone capable of achieving your goals, as someone who can overcome obstacles, and as someone who can continue growing no matter what stage of life they are in. This realization is the ultimate result of self-education, an empowered, self-confident version of yourself that is capable of achieving great things, both personally and professionally. By committing to self-education, you not only improve your life, but you also unlock a deeper sense of purpose. Learning is not just about gaining knowledge or acquiring skills. It is about becoming the person you are meant to be, stepping into your full potential, and using your growth to make a meaningful impact on the world around you. As you continue on this journey of self-education, you will find that the more you learn, the more you can contribute not just to your own life, but to the lives of others as well. Learning in silence is louder than showing off knowledge. In a world where everyone is eager to share what they know, to show off their expertise, and to seek recognition, there is something incredibly powerful about learning in silence. The constant pressure to prove our worth and our intelligence often leads us to speak more than we listen, to showcase what we know rather than what we are learning. However, real growth often happens in the quiet moments, in the spaces where we are absorbing knowledge without feeling the need to flaunt it. There is a quiet strength in learning without seeking applause, in developing skills and wisdom that speak for themselves rather than needing to be spoken about. When we learn in silence, we allow ourselves the space to truly understand. Instead of rushing to share what we know, we focus on internalizing the information, allowing it to take root and grow. This silent learning is the foundation of deep understanding. It is easy to repeat facts, to memorize theories, or to speak confidently about what we think we know, but true knowledge comes when we take the time to reflect, process, and truly grasp the essence of what we have learned. In silence, we give ourselves the opportunity to explore ideas without the need for validation. We let the learning process unfold naturally, without the pressure of external expectations. Learning in silence is also a way of being humble. It is about acknowledging that we do not have all the answers, that we are still in the process of growth, and that there is always more to learn. It allows us to be students of life, embracing the fact that we are not perfect, and that the more we know, the more we realize how much we still have to discover. By learning quietly, we resist the temptation to compare ourselves to others, to compete, or to feel inferior when someone else knows more. We focus on our own journey and we learn at our own pace without being distracted by the noise around us. This quiet approach to learning also fosters a sense of patience. In a world of constant distractions and instant gratification, it can be difficult to sit with information, to let it marinate and sink in. But true learning is not instantaneous. It takes time to understand concepts, to gain mastery over a subject, and to truly absorb knowledge. When we learn in silence, we are willing to give that time. We are not looking for immediate results or quick rewards. We understand that growth is a process, and we are willing to put in the work even when no one is watching. Silence also allows for deeper introspection. When we are constantly talking, sharing, or seeking approval from others, we often neglect the internal dialogue that helps us grow. The most profound insights often come when we are alone with our thoughts, reflecting on what we have learned and how it connects to our own experiences. In silence, we are able to hear our inner voice, to process what we have absorbed, and to make connections that we might not have made in the noise of the world. This introspection leads to a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us, and it allows us to integrate new knowledge in a way that is meaningful and lasting. Learning in silence is also an act of discipline. It requires us to resist the urge to share everything we know or to seek recognition for our learning. Instead, we choose to focus on the process of growth, to immerse ourselves in knowledge without the need for external validation. This discipline strengthens our character and helps us build a solid foundation of knowledge that is not dependent on others' opinions. It is a quiet form of strength that allows us to remain grounded and focused on our personal development, rather than seeking external praise or approval. Furthermore, silence allows us to be more observant. When we are constantly speaking or trying to prove our knowledge, we miss the chance to listen and observe the world around us. The best learners are often the best listeners. In silence, we can truly observe the actions, reactions, and behaviors of others. We can watch how people apply the knowledge we have learned, and we can see how ideas play out in real life situations. This observation becomes a powerful form of learning in itself, as it allows us to understand how to apply knowledge practically, rather than just theoretically. There is also an undeniable power in letting our actions speak louder than our words. When we learn quietly, without the need to boast or advertise our knowledge, we build a reputation based on what we do, not just what we say. Our expertise becomes evident in the way we carry ourselves, in the way we approach problems, and in the results we produce. The more we focus on learning in silence, the more our work begins to speak for itself. Others begin to see our growth not in the words we speak, but in the actions we take and the impact we make. In a world that values loud voices and visible success, learning in silence becomes an act of quiet rebellion. It is a choice to prioritize true learning over shallow recognition, to value depth over appearance, and to focus on personal growth rather than external validation. Learning in silence does not mean avoiding sharing knowledge with others. It simply means that the true value of learning comes from within, from the quiet, focused effort we put into our growth. And in that silence, we become stronger, wiser, and more capable than we ever imagined.